Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. I'm here with my special guest, Jay Smith from Unfair Sports. Welcome to the show, Jay.
What's going on, man? Glad to be here. Let's talk some ball, Jason.
Hey, man, it's time to actually talk some football again instead of freaking transfer portal BS and everything else that's going on. We're going to talk about a game. Let's get into the Alamo Bowl. The Sooners got there on Sunday, getting ready for their matchup with the Arizona Wildcats. 9-3 Arizona Wildcats, who really came on strong at the end of the season, winning their last 6 games. Took USC to 3 overtimes before Caleb Williams got them with the 2-point conversion. And then, they lost by 7 to Washington, who's in the college football playoff against the Texas Longhorns. So this is seems like it's going to be a tough matchup for a brand new quarterback and new offensive line. And I think even if it wasn't that, it would be a tough matchup for these Sooners. What do you think?
No, I agree. This team's good. This is gonna be a fun game overall, right? Like, so that's one thing I won't be able to complain about is that this will be now. This is going to be a good one. Arizona's rising, and just as you mentioned, they lost to Washington by 7. The game wasn't as close as the score shows, but they did start coming back. You saw a fight in them in the end of the game, which is what you want to see out of a team if they're going to be respectable. But then they gave USC the business. And that was still when USC was looking like they were going to try to bounce back and Caleb was going to be Superman, and eventually it fell apart. But they ain't lost a game since, right? Like ever since that one, they went through and beat 4 ranked teams in their last 6 games. Now, you can ask the question, was the pack overinflated as far as the rankings go? I mean, that's an argument for another day, but they beat the teams that were in front of them. And so they went through and they fought their butts off and did good. And there's a lot to like about Arizona. I like what Jedd Fisch is doing over there. So, yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I like him a lot, too. And as you said, Jedd Fisch, he came over. He was one of the top assistants for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan prior to coming over. Goes from 1 win in his first season to, 5 wins in year 2. And now, of course, 9-3 with, and really, I mean, you think about it. Had it not been for the Mississippi State, they lost that one in overtime as well. Early part of the year. Ended up switching quarterbacks over it, and then really, I mean, they had a 17-point lead against USC. So aside from your Caleb Williams heroics, you can see these guys in the college football playoff right now too, or at least they would have had an opportunity to play for the Pac-12 championship game. Maybe get a second shot at Washington, right? I really like what Jedd's done. You were talking about it off air about how he's one of the very few.
He's one of like a handful. There's probably like 5 or 6 in college football total that's never played college football at all. That's a head coach today, which is wild to think, right? I mean, it's wild to even think about. It's the who was that? Bill Belichick was one of those famous people that didn't play, but was just that much of a brain. But he's one of those that
small school or something like that.
Right. Fisch spent a lot of time, going through the ranks of the NFL. He started underneath Spurrier at Florida, which to me it's kind of a big deal if that dude gave him a grad assistant opportunity. Parlayed that into an NFL job underneath Don Capers as a quality control guy on defense. And since then, he's worked a lot on the offensive side at multiple jobs, from the Ravens to the Michigan Wolverines to UCLA. So he's jumped around and gained a lot of experience. And here we are.
About a head coach that has done a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of times you'll see a coach that they've spent their entire career on the offensive side of the ball or their entire career on the defensive side of the ball. This is a guy that knows every little thing about a football program.
Right.
Pretty good stuff, man.
I think it fascinates me too. Like, so he spent like 18 and 19 with the Rams, which that's the early McVay era. And then he spent a year with the Patriots as a quarterback coach. And now he got the Arizona job. So it's like Arizona decided that, you know what? We haven't seen much success over the last 15 years. We're going to think outside the box and just grab somebody and boom, here you are.
Why not? And I was really, I gotta be honest with you. I was a little bit surprised that you didn't see him his name out there for some of these big jobs. You know, as you know, the offseason got started and you had some openings. So maybe he was just ready to kind of stick with Arizona and make this transition into the Big 12. I think they're obviously, that's the other thing about this game is you've got two teams transitioning to new conferences. Obviously, the Sooners are going into the SEC. Arizona kind of taking their place as one of the expected new Big 12. Well, I think they're probably the best team coming in. You know, I think they're probably the best team coming in.
There's an argument for them. There's an argument for them. There's an argument for Utah coming in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you got Rising coming back, it's kind of an argument that you can make that I think they may be up there as far as the rankings go. So, yeah, there's a few arguments you can make for Arizona, though, too. I mean, they're not with them being 9-3 the way they're playing. And they could be one of the biggest challengers.
At the end of the year, they wrecked Utah. So that's, you know, to me, I think that
Utah without Cam Rising, though, that is the caveat. So fair
enough. But Utah was able to beat some other teams without Cam Rising, and they, you know, obviously, this is a big win either way. Now, they also, you know, the other storyline everybody's been talking about. You got two freshman quarterbacks going to be facing off. Obviously, Jackson Arnold making his first official start as the guy for the Oklahoma Sooners. Noah Fafita has had the better part of the season. You know, he replaced a late junior quarterback coming in and just kind of lit it up, man. 217 of 295 completions. That's 73, almost 74%. 2,515 yards with 25 touchdowns, I believe, and just 5 interceptions on the year.
23. Yeah, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. I think he had some rushing touchdown. No rushing touchdown. So, yeah, just 23. But no, yeah, you're right. He's played in every game this season so far but one. And that's the Mississippi State game. And you can't beat that as a freshman, getting that many reps. He came in for the Washington game, and that's when he really showed out. He helped them claw back. And, you know, we talked about it before that. They showed fight, even though that score wasn't as close. I mean, it ended 31-24, a 7-point game, but it wasn't that close at all in the game. I mean, you have Washington at one point was up 3 scores. But just their ability to keep fighting to try to get that score close told me everything I need to know about Arizona. That's what made me nervous when I was on the Bleacher Report doing the predictions, and I paid attention to them after that game. I was like, I'm picking Arizona every time I get the opportunity, and they pay dividends. So that's going to be a fun one, seeing, like you said, Jackson Arnold as a freshman, his first official start versus a freshman that's had 11 starts. I'm sorry, 8 starts.
8 starts. Yeah. And, you know, that's the thing is I actually watched every game from the USC game on. So I saw them lose the game against USC and then watched them win out after that. And look, man, it's a heck of a football team. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
I think Fisch has turned the tide around there, which is, you know, as much of a basketball school as Arizona's always been. It's hard to turn people's heads around and kids. And when they've had some good players that could have come through Tucson, but there hasn't been a lot of times that you could say they had a ton of success, and particularly, you know, playing in the Pac-12. I think that's the biggest hurdle to jump whenever you don't have to worry about it as much on their basketball program because they know they're going to go in there and get blue blood guys and they're going to win a lot of games. When it comes to football, that's just, you know, not the expectation. So to turn those expectation levels around tells you a lot about this coach and his staff as well.
No, I agree. And so, as you mentioned, you know, so we've got him versus Jackson Arnold. And the question I had going into this game is, what's Arizona going to do? They like to do a lot. They rush a lot. You know, they're big on the blitz. Looking at their grades and just kind of the snaps and whatnot. You got like four edges at play. They rotate a lot of dudes. And so my anticipation is they're going to try to put as much pressure on Jackson Arnold as possible because he's a young quarterback. Now, I'm high on Jackson Arnold, just like you are.
Yep.
We've seen that man do his thing. I'm watching his practice footage. I'm like, okay, he's spinning it. He's got me feeling comfortable. I have no complaints. So watching him go, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to see if how much pressure is Arizona going to put on Jackson in order to try to make this a tough one for him.
Yeah, and I think that obviously with some new offensive linemen, you had a lot of guys that either went to the draft or went to the portal, and then the hope is really you basically get another spring in between the bowl game and the end of the regular season. So it 15 practices, maybe you got some good development there, got some guys some time to get themselves together as far as injuries and stuff are concerned as well. But what do you think the game plan? Do you expect to see a heavy amount of, rushing attack? Try to get the ball, try to get the running game going first, and that way you can get Jackson settled down a little bit, or kind of keep a little pressure off of him. Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling there. I think that the Seth Latrell offense is going to be power. They're gonna run it down your throat, and they're going to throw it a lot. So the good thing is, though, in this game, we're still going to have some veteran linemen. So Walter Rouse is going to start. He'll be at the left tackle. The depth chart came out. You have Walter Rouse at the left side. You'll have Caleb Schaefer. He'll be starting at the left guard. This will be his last game as a Sooner since he entered the transfer portal. Troy Everett, the transfer from Appalachian State, is going to be at the center. Him and Joshua Bates will battle that one out. Right. You'll see McCade Matowers back. He'll play the right guard. He'll be going pro, and then you got Big Sexy Jacob Sexton as the right tackle, which is good for, to me, Jackson Arnold. Put the younger guy at his face. That way, if pressure's coming on that side, he can move around, but have your veteran on the blind side, which is where you have Walter Rouse. And Walter Rouse is basically trying to sell himself to the NFL anyway. He's expected to get drafted, but this is a great way for him to get the reps needed that's going to get him the attention he wants to get drafted at a higher number.
Right.
So I anticipate, as you mentioned, a lot of run game. Like they're going to probably run Sawchuck and Tyree Walker, who's also in the portal, down their throat. See what we can establish there. You'll have Barnes and Hicks as well available, but I'm anticipating Jackson Arnold's going to be out there slinging it to Nick and Farouk and Stoops most of the game.
Yeah, listen, this is a last opportunity to get to see, Drake Stoops go out there and kind of hang it out there all on the line. My expectation is that you're going to see a lot of stuff from Drake, and I would hope that they kind of feed him the ball like they have all year. He was definitely, when you needed a big catch, it went to Drake.
Yep.
So what a leadership! Hey man, that's actually something I hadn't thought a ton about, but I think that you could see this football team really kind of going out there and wanting to win one for him. Not, you don't want to lose the last game, for Drake Stoops. So obviously you want to go into the SEC with momentum and looking good and beating a good football team like Arizona. I know a lot of people look at these games as these are exhibitions, and they are. But for, I think, both teams, this matters, right? This matters. This is a game that matters. You're Arizona. You can announce your presence in your new conference with a big win over a football team that has talent, So it's important for them. But I think you don't want to leave the Big 12 if you're Oklahoma, having lost to an incoming Big 12 team when you're going to the SEC. So a lot to play for here. This is kind of unusual for a bowl game that isn't in the playoff in these days.
Yeah, and the good thing about this one, as you mentioned, a lot of them are playing, for the pride and just to close out their careers or whatnot. That's the one thing I like about the bowl games is that if you have those players that are working on their draft stock, they can come in and play hard and really help the young guys develop. And then you'll have those other situations where you'll see a lot of opt-outs like Florida State, which honestly, I don't mind that because I like to see what the young players that are there, what they look like.
Absolutely.
As we prepare into next season. So it gives you that glimpse too. Like for example, here, instead of having Dylan Gabriel play, we got Jackson Arnold. So now we get to see the new era of Sooner civilization today. We just see him go against a good team.
Practices where he was the guy getting all the reps.
Yep.
That's
and you get him against a good team. So like you said, you can see him against a good team. So the defense, relative to who they are, statistically, Arizona's not a bad team at all. They're good enough. They're going to be interesting to see as we play against them. That's a good thing.
Right. No, and obviously talked a little bit about that defense. Let's just we'll jump into that a little bit. Obviously, Taylor Upshaw, you brought him up earlier out of before the cast. 8 sacks, 6 hits, along with 20 hurries on the season. Taidi Uyunglele has also been a terror in the backfield for a lot of teams. Obviously, not leading the way on it, but he's a young guy, kind of coming in and making a name for himself as well. So and it looks like they have quite a few guys that they rotate in and out of there. So they try to keep them fresh and try to keep a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think that this gives you that opportunity, like you said, to find out how is Jackson going to handle that. You know you're going to see pressure in the SEC. You know,
right.
Jackson going to handle it when he sees some pressure here. How is he going to be able to check down, hit the right guy, not get a turnover, that kind of deal. And I think that if he learned anything from Dylan Gabriel, I would hope it to be in that.
Yeah, and then with them, defensively, total yards per game, they were only giving up like 340 yards per game in a conference where offense is, king, right? So it's actually pretty solid, right? Overall, I say efficiency ratings and stuff, they're pretty middle of the pack. They're rated between the 40s and the 80s. There a lot of variation in there, but they're going to give us a lot of fun to see. Now, the question is going to be, what does their offense look like against our defense? Like you said, Noah Fafita is a freshman. He's got some starts, but he's going up against a defensive mind that likes to pressure young quarterbacks. And this dude does not scramble. Like, he doesn't really run. Like, he had 31 carries for 2 yards season. That tells you everything about his running ability, right? Not that he can't run. He just don't.
Running to throw. Yeah.
Yes, he's buying time to chunk that thing. He's going to throw it away. So, yeah. And overall, let me see. They've given up this season. Let me see. I think I had the number in front of me. They've given up 21 sacks.
Right, 21
this season, which isn't bad. That's probably middle of the pack. They've been sacked 21 times this year. We've got 19 as a team, but they've only allowed 66 tackles for a loss, and we've gotten 88. So we'll be all up in their face in this game. And I anticipate a lot of exotic blitzes. I think the young dudes, Kip, Kanik, as well as Kobe, McKenzie, you're going to see them really flying around and going after the quarterback, really putting pressure on them. Like, this is the time to test out what they're going to look like going into next season, especially since we got Bowman and Stutzman coming back.
Well, and I think that you're right, too. And, if you look at that, really the best defensive front that they will have seen was probably Utah's. And because they didn't play against Oregon during the season, so they missed out on that one. I don't think they've seen a defensive front like you've seen at Oklahoma that gets pressure on the quarterback, particularly with Stutzman coming back, as you said. It's gonna be a little different look defensively, even though we saw some hiccups towards the end of the year for Oklahoma. There were times that they were very, very good, and they where they didn't necessarily always get home on a sack. They had a lot of hurries, a lot of pressures, and which turned into a lot of turnovers. Leading the country in interceptions, pick sixes. It's one of those deals where you expect this secondary to kind of show out a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say the closest thing they saw defensively was probably UCLA's, and that's something Chip Kelly's had. He's an offensive guy, but his defense is always pretty solid. And they go after you, them in Utah, and they kick both their butts. So, but it's still a Pac-12 defense, right? Now it's the Pac-2, but it's the Pac-12 defense. So I'm not inclined to believe that they're going to be that much of a threat to us, or they've seen a defense like ours. I mean, the one thing we're infamous for, and every coach that we played against has said it, we're fast as hell on the defensive side. It's like this team is fast. Didn't expect it. They're fast. Well, yeah, I expect us to be really fast in this game too.
Look, and they've been able to be, at times, the times that they were questioned on their toughness and where they were as far as that was concerned. You think about they were supposed to lose in the trenches against Texas. They did not. They owned the trenches against Texas, and that was against Devondre Sweat and some of those other guys. Hey, the goal line stand, they had Sweat in the damn backfield, and they still mashed them down. So this is a team that can absolutely get after it on defense. I suspect, again, you have some time to get some guys, healed up a little bit. I'm excited about it. I think there's a better opportunity than a lot of people I think are giving them a chance for. Let's get a prediction from you, man. Let's get a prediction from you on the scoreboard.
All right, so the way this game is looking right now, Arizona is still favored by 3 with the over under at about 60.5.
Yep.
Now, ESPN's matchup predictor has Oklahoma at a 75% chance of winning this game. I am very much inclined that the Sooners are going to win this one. And I think the Sooners win this by a touchdown. So if I was to give it a score, I'd say 31-24 will probably be my best score. I think they go under the total because I think defensively in a neutral site that Venables is going to take that ish seriously. He's going to take this personally that this team is a dog in this game. He's going to want to go out there and make a defensive statement. So I say 31-24 Oklahoma.
Okay. I will say traditionally, this has been one of those explosive bowl games. A lot of points get scored in the Alamo Dome. I'm going to stick with that. Let's say I'm going to call it let's call it a 10-point game. I'm going to say 41-31 good guys, Oklahoma. 41-31. Well, so they will go the over. But folks, let us know what you think. I put your predictions in the comment section. Make sure you let us know what you think. We will have a giveaway for whoever's got closest to the score. If you get it right on, we'll get a t-shirt for you on the giveaway. So make sure you check that out. Hey, one thing is we just want to see a good football game and have some momentum riding on some momentum going into what is going to be an amazing season in the SEC. I'm so excited. I can't freaking believe we got so long to wait still. And 8 months, 9 months of
that's a whole full year left, man. Damn.
It's brutal, but a lot of fun coming into it. We're gonna learn a lot about this football team this week, and that's good news. So, Jay, I appreciate you coming in and joining us for the show.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me as usual, man. I'll be back on the live soon. Once the holidays are done and we're wrapping up, I'll be coming back kicking it as usual.
Oh, absolutely. And make sure you get over there and check him out at Unfair Sports, everywhere your podcasts are, and then at Unfair Sports on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it as well.
The X-Bird,
The X-Bird. I like that.
So I'm
Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. Make sure to find us right here at CFB-Pod on YouTube. We'll see you on the next one.